Monday began as usual. Students at the University of Montana, bundled in warm hoodies and jeans, hurried to their lectures, hiding from the light morning rain. The campus smelled of wet pine, vending machine coffee, and something like tobacco, the familiar scent of a mountain state. No sensations, no guests. For now. Around 11:12 a.m. local time, a buzz began. First on social media, then across campus. Tom Cruise is on university grounds. Seriously? Tom Cruise? Here? Derek, a sophomore, was stunned when he saw the message in the student chat. Someone must be mistaken, Sarah replied. We don't even have a film program. What would he be doing here? But it was true. By 11:30, students were being gathered in the main auditorium. At first, it looked like a spontaneous meeting, no posters, no announcements. No one really explained what was going on. The dean simply said into the microphone. We have an unplanned guest. Please behave respectfully. When Tom Cruise walked into the room, most thought it was a lookalike. But no, it was really him. That walk, that same confidence, and that look, cold as steel but burning with inner fire. Good morning, he said. I'm not here for a movie. And not for a show. I'm here to tell you how to stay alive when things don't go according to plan. A pause. A few people chuckled nervously. He waited silently. The chuckling faded on its own. You've been taught how to pass exams. How to write essays. How to look for jobs. But no one teaches you what to do if you end up in an overturned car in the middle of the desert. Or if you're stuck in a mountain crevice with no signal. Or if you're left alone with cold, hunger, and fear. He stepped forward. I was taught that. Not because I chose to. But because I had to survive. The hall grew quiet. Even the professors, initially puzzled, fell silent. Who knows how to stop arterial bleeding if all you have is a t-shirt? He asked. No one raised a hand. Who knows how to navigate by the sun if your phone battery dies? Again, silence. Tom nodded. That's what we're going to talk about. He began to share stories. About filming in Dubai, where he performed stunts himself at a height of 130 floors. About the motorcycle crash during Mission Impossible, where he broke a bone but finished the scene. About CIA training camps he went through to prepare for a role. About real military instructors who taught him how to stay in control when everything was falling apart. And with every minute, the audience listened more intently. You think this is about movies? No. It's about the mind. About discipline. About instinct. I've seen people with money and connections break after 24 hours in the wilderness. And guys with barely any experience survive for weeks, because they knew how to keep inner silence. Do you understand what I'm saying? A tall guy in a hoodie and baseball cap raised his hand. Sorry, but, why are you here? This is a university. We're not special forces. We study biology, psychology, finance. Tom smiled. Because one day you'll find yourself in a situation where psychology won't save you. Where finance won't help. Where biology won't matter. And all that's left is you, and your choice. Panic or action. Fear or calculation. And that will determine not just your life, but the life of whoever is with you. Pause. I didn't come here to shoot a film. I came to pass on something that may one day save your life. Someone whispered. This is more than just a lecture. And then part 2 began. Tom stepped to the side of the stage where strange crates were stacked. He opened one. Inside were sleeping bags, compasses, radios, basic army knives, worn books with dirty covers and folded pages. This is my personal kit. The stuff I always keep close. He took out a knife. This isn't a weapon. It's a tool. For food. For survival. For signaling. He walked to the edge of the stage. Who here is ready to test themselves? Silence. Not right now. But soon I want to run an experiment with you. Voluntary. Real. No cameras. No filters. If you're in, come talk to me after the lecture. Professors exchanged looks. The dean stood, about to say something, but Tom stopped him with a gesture. I know you're worried. But sometimes life teaches us more than any class. Sometimes, you have to step outside the walls of a university to truly understand what you're capable of. He looked out into the audience. You never know when your mission will begin. But you have to be ready. With that, he stepped off the stage. 3 days after the lecture, Tom Cruise returned to campus. No security, no cameras, wearing the same black jacket, a backpack slung over one shoulder. This time, he wasn't headed to the auditorium, but to a small conference room on the second floor of the library. Behind the door, 12 people had already gathered, the same volunteers. Among them were Sarah, a biology student, a bit shy but with inner strength. Derek, a fan of movies and adventure, dreaming of making his own film. Luke, a former cadet who had transferred to university after an injury. Ashley, studies animal behavior, confident in field environments. And 8 others whose faces were still ordinary, until the challenge began to reveal each one. Tom walked in, nodded, and without a word, placed a map on the table. It was an old topographic map of a mountainous region, dense forests, streams, hills, trails. The area was about 40 kilometers from the campus. We'll have 48 hours. The rules are simple, you don't know the route. I won't tell you the checkpoints. Your task is to survive. Make it through. And come back. Are you coming with us? Asked Sarah. He nodded. I'm not just with you. I'm part of the group. No one is in charge. We're all equal. But one of you will become the leader. Not by title, by action. It will reveal itself. Everyone looked at each other. You'll sleep on the ground. Eat only what you find or ration. Water is your concern. I'll provide just one thing, a basic kit. He placed a collapsible box on the floor and opened it. Inside were 12 identical sets, a light sleeping bag, a compass, a flask, a folding knife, a couple of energy bars, and flint for making fire. No phones, no flashlights, no GPS. Just nature, and people. This isn't a game, he said. We're in real conditions. I'll be close. But I won't intervene unless you're on the edge of death. Luke, the former cadet, tightened his lips. Are we signing anything? You already did, when you volunteered, Tom smiled. The next morning, they were taken to the starting point. The bus stopped at the edge of a gravel road deep in a protected area. Ahead, a dense spruce forest. The weather was gloomy, and the air smelled of ozone, like before a storm. Tom stood before the group. Your goal, in 2 days, reach point B. I won't say where it is. But it's on the map. Use logic, resources, and each other. From this moment, it's all real. He pulled out the map and handed it to Sarah. Today, she'll be your cartographer. Tomorrow, maybe someone else. Why me? She asked, surprised. Because you're the only one who didn't look at the map in fear. You studied it with your eyes, not panic. Sarah took the map. All right, if we need to go south, this line is a stream. We can follow it until we hit a trail crossing. Then follow the trail, toward the rise. What if there's no trail? Someone asked from the back. Then we'll make our own, Tom replied. That's it. Let's go. The first hours were easy. The group moved energetically in the direction Sarah had identified. The stream bubbled nearby, allowing them to refill their water. Ashley showed how to use charcoal from the fire to filter water through a sock. Spirits were high, some joked, some took notes, some just enjoyed the view. But by noon, problems began. The weather shifted. Rain started to drizzle. The trail vanished, and mud appeared underfoot. People began slipping. Luke's leg cramped up, an old injury flaring. Derek lost his flask after stumbling on a slope. And Sarah realized they had veered slightly off course, not strictly south, but southwest. "We've drifted," she said, staring at the map. "About a kilometer. Maybe more." "So we need to go back," someone suggested. "No," Tom said. "Backtracking wastes resources. Sometimes it's better to go around an obstacle than fight it." By evening, they found a campsite, a sloping clearing near a small stream. Sarah, Ashley, and Luke started building a fire. Tom sat apart, watching. He gave no advice, didn't interfere, just observed how they interacted. "You know," he said to Derek, who was shivering beside him, "survival isn't about fighting nature. It's about aligning with it. If you start getting angry at the rain, you lose. If you understand how it works, you gain water, cover, and cooling. What if you freeze?" Derek asked, pulling his sleeping bag tighter. "Then you learn why warmth is what your mind values most. Cold doesn't kill right away. It steals your will. First, you're too lazy to stand up. Then too lazy to think. And then, you just don't wake up." That night, the real challenge began. Some couldn't sleep from the cold. Others, from the wind. Strange forest sounds echoed, groans, cracking, rustling. Someone clutched a knife in near panic. Tom slept peacefully. Arms behind his head, right on the ground. Like he was home. By dawn, they realized one of the guys, Max, had left during the night. Without a word. His sleeping bag lay empty, with tracks leading away from camp. "What the?" Sarah ran to Tom. "Should we do something?" "No," he said. Max made a choice. He knew no one would look for him. Because that's part of the test, not to fear being alone. What if he gets lost? Tom looked toward the forest. He won't. Or he will, to find himself. Those are different things. Day 2 began with tension. Some were angry, irritated. Luke pressured Sarah, saying her route was a mistake. Ashley tried to calm everyone, suggesting they follow the ridgeline. Derek began panicking, he was out of water. The pressure mounted. Then Tom stood up. "Stop." Everyone froze. The issue now isn't direction. It's leadership. Who will lead? Who will take responsibility? He turned to Sarah. "Do you want to continue?" She hesitated. Then said, "Yes. But if anyone wants to take the map, I won't stop them." Luke stayed silent. "No. Lead." Sarah took the map. "Then we go that way. Up. If we can reach the ridge, we'll see everything." After an hour's climb, they reached a high point. From the summit, they saw the valley, and in the distance, almost shrouded in mist, they spotted a wooden flag sticking out of a rock. "That's it," Sarah said. "Point B." "Well done," said Tom. He pulled a flask from his backpack, took a sip, and handed it to Sarah. "Lesson of the day? Fear isn't the enemy. It's fuel," she said. He nodded. "Remember that. Tomorrow, fear will be with us again. Only this time, it'll be different." The sun was setting behind the ridge, and a heavy evening silence settled over the forest. The group had reached Point B. Everyone expected Tom Cruise to say something, to sum it up, or maybe pull out a radio and call for evacuation. But he just sat on a rock, pulled out a small notebook, and started writing. "What now?" Ashley asked. "This is only halfway," he replied without looking up. "Tomorrow you'll decide, go back the same way, or take another. And what if we choose the wrong one?" Tom looked up. His eyes were calm, but there was something strange in them, something no one had noticed before. A subtle detachment. As if he already knew what would happen. Every path teaches something. Some faster. Some, more painfully. He stood up, looked around at everyone, and nodded to Sarah. "Tonight, you're the leader again. Until dawn. Tomorrow, maybe not." That night, the first strange thing happened. Luke woke up to the sound of footsteps. Quiet, but steady. He poked his head out of the sleeping bag, expecting to see Tom. Maybe he had gone to scout the route or just take a walk. But the camp was already gone. Tom's sleeping bag was empty. His backpack was gone. No note. No hint that he had left. "Tom?" Luke whispered. Silence. He woke the others. A coal still glowed in the fire pit, ashes gently smoldering. Derek yawned and rubbed his eyes. "What?" "Tom's gone," Luke said. Everyone stood up. Panic started rising. Sarah began searching the area, but there were no tracks. The dew had wiped everything clean. Or maybe there had been no tracks at all. "He wouldn't just leave," Ashley said. "This is some kind of test." Or, Derek hesitated, "We're not in a test anymore." In the morning, they waited. Until 9. Until 10. No sign of Tom. No sound, no signal. Not even a hint of his return. Sarah still had the map, and now she felt a strange weight, as if it wasn't just responsibility anymore. It was something heavier. Crushing. "He wouldn't leave," she insisted. "He's an actor, sure. He took risks. But not like this." "Are you sure he was real?" someone muttered. Everyone fell silent. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Derek said, "we all just believed he was the Tom Cruise. But, where's the proof? Where are the cameras? The filming? His security?" "We saw him at the university," Ashley countered. "Did you see his documents?" The air froze. Silence, dense, sticky. For the first time, someone felt it. Maybe this was something bigger. Or something else. Despite growing unease, the group decided to move. Going back the same way would be safer, but too easy. And Tom had said, straight roads aren't always the right ones. It sounded almost like a warning. Sarah found a possible shortcut through a canyon on the map. It was riskier but shorter. Everyone agreed, they had to go. The path led downward, to a river, through a dense, gloomy forest. The day was overcast, the sky hidden behind clouds, and the forest swallowed the daylight. It became damp. And quiet. Too quiet. "Where are the birds?" Ashley whispered. "Where are the sounds?" Luke added. Derek was in the rear. He started falling behind. A couple of times, he turned around, and swore he saw a shadow. Not a form. Just movement. Fast, silent. As if someone was following them. "Hey," he shouted. "Who's there?" Sarah stopped. Everyone turned. "What happened?" "Someone's there," he said, gripping his knife. "It's your nerves," Sarah replied. "The forest. Illusions. There's nothing." But no one was sure. They reached the canyon by noon. To cross, they had to use an old wooden bridge, rotten, decaying with age. Luke checked the planks. Some wobbled. Beneath, an abyss and a raging river. We can go around, Ashley suggested. That's half a day, Sarah said. If the bridge holds, it's better to cross. If. Luke volunteered to go first. He moved slowly, carefully, plank by plank. At the center, he paused, exhaled, and said. It's holding. Slowly, but doable. One by one, they began crossing. When it was Derek's turn, the bridge tilted slightly. One of the cables creaked. Sarah shouted. Faster. Don't stop. But then. Derek froze. Behind him, at the start of the bridge, someone was standing. Not a person. Not an animal. A shadow. Too tall. Too stretched. No features. Just a silhouette. Derek recoiled. Nearly slipped. Luke grabbed him, pulling him to safety. When they turned back, there was no one. They didn't talk about it. They walked in silence until evening. Each lost in thought. But the tension grew. Exhaustion pressed down. Supplies ran low. Ahead, only forest. No one slept that night. The shadows came closer. The rustling, louder. And then, a voice. From the darkness. Soft. Calm. Fatigue is your true enemy. Everyone froze. Sarah jumped up, grabbed a knife. Ashley lit the fire. The light chased away the dark. Who said that? No answer. Not a soul nearby. Only the forest. And silence. At dawn, Sarah found a note in her backpack. Crumpled. No signature. You've started to understand. But you mustn't look for him. He's looking for you. She showed the note to Ashley. Her face went pale. Is that his handwriting? She asked. I don't know, Sarah whispered. But what does it mean, he's looking for us? Maybe, it's not just Tom. Ashley looked toward the forest. Maybe we weren't students. But part of an experiment. When they reached the next clearing, Sarah thought she saw a figure. In the distance. Tom. He was standing, turned away. As if he was waiting. Or knew they were coming. Tom, she shouted and ran. But when she reached the spot, nothing. No footprints. That evening, the group stopped again. Everyone was exhausted. Emotionally and physically. Sarah sat by the fire, pulled out the map, and stared into it like a mirror. Her gaze, empty. Tomorrow, we go back, she said. Otherwise, we just won't make it. What if it's already too late? Luke asked quietly. What if we're not where we think we are anymore? Sarah looked at him. What do you mean? He pressed his lips together. What if Tom didn't plan this as a lecture? But as a trap? Then a sound broke the silence. A branch snapped. Very close. Everyone froze. Out of the shadows stepped a man. Dirty face, torn jacket. Max. The guy who disappeared on the first night. He didn't say anything. Just sat by the fire. And said. I saw him. Who? Sarah asked. He looked up. Tom. But he wasn't alone. Who was with him? Max looked around at everyone. He was talking, to himself. But the second voice wasn't his. It was someone, inside him. Or near him. Silence tightened its grip on the group. And suddenly Sarah realized. Whatever was happening, there was no way back anymore. Max hadn't spoken all night. He just sat by the fire, warming his hands as if he hadn't returned from a field trip, but from captivity. His eyes wouldn't focus, and his movements were mechanical. The others watched him silently, not daring to ask questions. Only at dawn did Sarah quietly approach him as he scooped water from the kettle. "Max, where were you?" He said nothing. "We thought you were gone. We searched." Tom didn't say anything. "Tom," he repeated dully, as if tasting the name. Tom went into himself. Or out of himself. Or he was led. I don't know. Led by who? He lifted his gaze. There was something broken in his eyes. I'm not sure he's human. The day's journey was short. After Max reappeared, no one insisted on continuing the route. Everyone just wanted to get out of the forest. But Sarah didn't rush. She felt something, in the map, in the route, in what was happening, something didn't add up. They were supposed to reach the road yesterday. But instead, they were walking for the 4th day. "It feels like we're going in circles," said Luke. "Look at the slopes. They're all the same. Even the smells are the same." "The forest can deceive," Sarah said quietly. "Especially if someone is helping it do so." In the 3rd hour of walking, they stumbled upon a structure. It was unexpected. Deep in the heart of the woods, where there shouldn't have been anything, an abandoned building, overgrown with moss, its walls half-rotten. One entrance. Narrow windows. Almost a bunker. Sarah slowly approached and pushed the door. It creaked, heavily, as if it hadn't been opened in a long time. But inside, there was no dust. "Someone's been here recently," Derek said. Ashley lit the room with a flashlight. Inside, a long corridor, doors on each side. No signs. Just a faded inscription on the wall. Observation point number 12. Max went pale. "I've been here." "When?" "Last night. I don't know how. It was like I was led here. I woke up inside. Anne. I heard someone talking about me. Through a microphone." He pointed to the wall. Sarah stepped closer. At first, she didn't notice. But then she saw tiny holes in the wall. And near the ceiling, a camera disguised as a vent. "They were filming us?" Ashley asked. "All this time?" Max nodded silently. They began exploring the rooms. Behind each door, something strange. In one room, shelves filled with folders. Each folder had a name and a photo. Sarah, Luke, Derek, even Max. Inside, printed profiles, forms, photos from university, surveillance footage, medical records. Some of it was clearly collected without permission. "This can't be real," Sarah breathed. "We didn't sign up for any of this." "Or maybe we did," said Luke. "You know how often we click, I agree, without reading. But why?" Ashley found a white box labeled Secondary Scenario, Group K. Inside, a script. Yes, a real one. With dialogues. Actions. Route descriptions. Scene 1, entering the forest. Scene 2, the illusion of choice. Scene 3, loss of leader. Scene 4, panic. Scene 5, control observation. Lecturer's name, TK. Tom Cruise? Sarah whispered. Or not Tom, added Derek. Just initials. It could be anyone. Or someone using his name. In another room, monitors. 6 of them. All showing different parts of the forest. Some, empty. Some, with recent footage. On one, Max clearly walking the trail, glancing around. Then, stopping. Speaking aloud. But he was alone in the frame. On another, the group around the fire. And, a silhouette. Just beyond the trees. Almost indistinguishable. But standing. Watching. On a third, a close-up of Sarah's face. Sleeping. The camera was clearly very close. Too close. They were watching us, she whispered. All this time. And then the door creaked. Everyone turned. In the doorway stood Tom. But not like before. Not confident, charismatic. Not in his army jacket. Dressed in dark clothes, pale-faced. His eyes were dull. You weren't supposed to come in here, he said. Who are you? Max asked. He was silent. Tom Cruise? Or just an actor? He smiled. Sadly. You wouldn't understand. Not the name, not the role. I was part of the project. Just like you. But now, you've gone too far. What project? Sarah exclaimed. We thought this was a lecture. An experiment. But this is something else. This is observation, he said softly. We studied how a person acts when they lose their sense of direction. We wanted to understand what happens when you lose your true self. You organized all this? No. I'm just a piece. Like you. Only. I agreed long ago. And you just happened to fit. He stepped forward. In his hand, a remote. It's time to end this. Sarah lunged at him, ripped the remote from his hand. Luke rushed to help. Tom didn't resist. He sank to his knees and whispered. You don't understand, now the second stage begins. What stage? Ashley shouted. When the observed becomes the observer. And can no longer leave. Because they are part of the system. Sarah pressed the button on the remote. More screens appeared. A new panel slid out of the wall. On it, images of other groups. Other students. Other Toms. All in different forests. Different countries. And under each one, a status. Group A, eliminated. Group B, unstable. Group K, active. We're not alone, Derek whispered. This isn't an experiment. It's a system. And then all the screens went black. The room went dark. Only the green light on the remote remained. Tom raised his head. Now you're like me. They can't let you go. You've seen too much. They left the bunker at dawn. Left Tom there, he didn't come with them. He only said. If you make it out, forget. Not because it's dangerous. But because otherwise, you'll never feel reality again. In anything. On the 7th day, they reached the road. A dusty highway. A lone car. Signal, back again. Luke was the first to call the university. But no one knew anything. Tom Cruise? Yes, he visited, but the lecture was rescheduled. No one sent students into the forest. There was no survival program. Sarah turned off her phone. They said nothing. 3 days later, they returned to the city. Life resumed. University. Lectures. People. Coffee. But every night, Sarah woke up and stared at the walls of her room, looking for a tiny hole. A camera. Or an eye. On Friday evening, she received a letter. No sender. Paper. You think you've returned. But you're inside. As long as you think about it, you are no longer free. Next Friday. 11 p.m. South side of campus. Come alone. Or they will find out. On the south side of the campus, it was empty. No cameras. No students. No noise. Only the night wind, the rustling of leaves, and the faint light of a lantern above the door of the old administration building. Sarah stood in the shadow of the trees, clutching a letter in her pocket. No one was nearby. She hadn't told Luke, Max, or Ashley. Not because she didn't trust them, but because she knew this was only about her. At exactly 11 p.m., the door creaked. A light flickered inside. Someone nodded at her from the doorway. She stepped inside. The air inside smelled of old paper and coffee. Everything was as usual, a corridor, nameplates on doors, the hum of computers. Everything, except for one thing, a person sat in the hall. In a gray suit. Nameless. Emotionless. "Sarah West?" he asked. She nodded. "Follow me." They descended the stairs. A basement. But not damp, more like a laboratory. Sterile. Brightly lit. At the end of the corridor, a glass door. Engraved on it, Institute of Behavioral Simulation. "Who are you?" Sarah asked. "Who organized all this?" "Not us. We're contractors. You participated in a program funded by a private investor. We called it the Maze Project." "Who is the investor?" "It doesn't matter. I want to know." The man stopped and finally looked at her seriously. "Sarah, you already know. You just don't want to believe it." He opened the door. Inside was an amphitheater. Small, but with seats, a screen, and a stage. Like a mini lecture hall. On the screen, a still shot, Sarah asleep by a campfire. Taken at night. Clear. Detailed. Almost intimate. On the stage stood Tom. But not like in the forest. Not the one who sat in the bunker. The real Tom Cruise. In a suit. With a calm face. Deep. Alive. "Hello, Sarah," he said. "I'm glad you came." She froze. "This can't be." "It is exactly as it seems," he confirmed. "I really participated in the project. Voluntarily. Because I wanted to understand what remains of a person when you remove their boundaries, social, temporal, moral. Why? It was cruel. We thought we were safe. Safety is an illusion. Real life is what you do when it collapses. We didn't harm you. But we watched. And you showed incredible things. We weren't lab rats. You're leaders. You, especially. You went further than we expected. You rejected the role of victim and started asking questions. You found the essence. What essence?" He stepped closer. The shot on the screen changed. Now Sarah stood at the edge of the forest, staring at the horizon. "You are no longer just a student. Now, you're a witness. And you must make a choice." On the table by the stage, there were two folders. One, white. The other, black. In the white one, there's a contract. You'll forget everything that happened. You'll receive compensation. The program will close for your group. We won't bother you anymore. And the second? Participation. In the next stage. You'll become an observer. Not an object. You'll oversee one of the new groups. Help them. Guide them. You'll learn more than you know now. But you won't be able to return to your old life. This is manipulation. This is a choice. No pressure. No threats. You can leave right now. And no one will stop you. But if you choose, do it consciously. Sarah stared at the folders. In her head, noise. Images of the forest. The bunker. Max. The cameras. And a strange feeling, as if she wasn't the same person she was before all this. And the others? They've already been released. But the observation continues. Even if they don't know. If you choose the black folder, you'll be able to protect them. Or, on the contrary, understand how the system works. She closed her eyes. Then, opened them. She reached out her hand. Her fingers brushed the black folder. I don't want to forget. I want to understand. And see everything. Tom nodded. No emotion. With respect. Welcome. Now, you are one of us. The next morning, she woke up in an unfamiliar room. A clean bed. White walls. On the table, a card. Maze Project. Observer, Sarah West. Group N starts on April 25th. In the corner, a monitor. On the screen, a camera. The forest. A campfire. 6 students. Among them, a girl. Confident. With intelligent eyes. Time until launch, 1 hour 12 minutes and 43 seconds. Sarah leaned back in her chair and sighed. Now she knew what to do. Now, she was observing.